Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to part 41 of Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. And in the last episode of Phoenix Wright, we just got off of the trial, and needless to say, the revelation of another murder that happened at the same time as the first murder in the prosecutor's parking lot is absolutely insane. We need to get to the bottom of this. We need to find out what's going on. But more importantly, we need to find out why Gant is so nonchalant in trying to give away evidence that could more than likely, incriminate him. Considering the fact that the police was responsible for whatever negligence that happened long ago. But that also would fall on the prosecutors as well. So I guess this war between the prosecutors and the police was probably caused by him. I will say this though, we're going to be introduced to more mechanics. So on that note, let's go automatically to the prosecutor's parking lot, where we're going to be introduced to a mechanic that's going to be showing up, I do believe, in Trials and Tribulation, and also showing up in Dual Destinies, especially Dual Destinies. So, said mechanic is going to be the Luminol. Now, if you don't remember, back in Case 3, Gumshoe used the Luminol. That's how he was able to find traces of sleeping powder on Will Powers' T-Bone, which Jack Hammer put on the T-Bone. Now we're gonna find out where the blood is, and why exactly has it been washed away. That is, if there was blood. So we're gonna find out all too well. And let me just be honest with you. Luminol is going to be a key in this case. You can't really actually go too far without Luminol. So on that note, we're going to have to get these tests done, so we can find out what's going on and what's with this blood. Later on, we're also going to be added another mechanic to this case, and that's going to be the dusting of the prints. But when you're doing Luminol, you're automatically looking through the eyes of Emma, not through Phoenix. So while you're spraying, you can spray for blood. And when you do, a luminescent color will signify that there was blood in the area. And that is blood, basically. Not just any blood, that's probably blood from the victim. On that note, now that we know that there was blood near the victim, it's safe to say Angel was right. So let's ask about the amount of blood, which is pretty odd because considering the perpetrator and Goodman was supposed to have fought here, you'd think there'd be more blood than this. That's not the case. Oh, and for the record, they still have the body tape where Goodman was hanging out of the back of Edgeworth's car. Jesus Christ, we're gonna have to eventually use that. But she's marked on the map, which is gonna be really important later on, for every instance that there was blood. Now, some may say that this was a great case. The Luminol is a handy item. My problem is it's gonna be the dusting and Luminol combination that's gonna be dragging this case out even more than what it already is. I mean, come on, it's damn near 40 minutes for God's sakes. And let's just be honest, folks. With the algorithm of YouTube thinking that this channel is dead because of inactivity. I still gotta do something with my other channel, but that's not the point. The last thing you need is to be bored with a 38-minute video. And I try to cut these down, but this case is really, really long. And I do believe I accidentally doze off, like right here, sometimes. Well, actually I didn't doze off too much, but the parts that I do doze off, I cut because, let's face it, I was bored with this part. It literally had me doze off with boredom. And I'm not trying to, that's just the way things are. However, we're still addressing the fact that Angel Star did indeed perjure on the stand. But she did it because of the fact that even though she's no longer a cop, but a lunch lady, she did see Lana stab Goodman, but she lied because of the fact that if she didn't, they wouldn't take her credible, because her credibility was robbed the moment the persecutors fired her. That's the problem. And that's why she has such a bias with the prosecutors. Now, she really was good with interrogations, which is all the more reason why criminals would end up confessing as to why they did it. And I gotta say, the fact of someone like her making criminals confess to crimes is definitely something worth noting. I mean, she had pretty much everything she needed. However, the SL9 incident pretty much caused her to lose her job. It was hailed as police incompetence because of the fact that despite the fact they got the murderer, they did it at the expense, apparently according to the report, of somebody else. By the way, I was showing off the things you need to show Angel Star in order to continue the conversation, and this is going to happen at least more than once. You need to show off the knife, and you also need to show off the note. Both of those will pretty much have Angel Star and Jake Marshall actually telling you what they know. And the reason being is those two were the detectives on this case. And that was the switchblade used for the last and final murder before Joe Dark was apprehended. And now that we actually got that, we need to actually... Hold on. I thought we got that point. Let's see. I guess we have to show the knife first, then... Well, actually, you have to show the ID in order to, actually continue. So, it's obvious Angel Star has found the same ID. And Angel just bust out something very interesting. She realized that two murders happening at the same time is utterly impossible. So we're gonna have to show off the crime photo in order for to actually get her to tell us about the SL9 incident. But she was in the security room, and the only reason why she was in the security room was because she was with her boyfriend. Now, some may think that she has a lot of boyfriends and she really get around. No, as it turns out, those box lunches are the only reason why she could come back to this place. Even though she no longer has clearance. And her testimony was going to be disregarded because of the fact that she was no longer an officer and she was a disgraced officer at that. she had to use whatever means necessary in order for her to get into the SL9 trial. So as it stands, there are 4 people throughout this entire case. Angel Starr, Bruce Goodman, Jake Marshall, and another person who was killed. Apparently, Keith Marshall. More about him when we actually get to that part. Unfortunately, the case was closed immediately, but the criminal was executed, and Edgeworth was the one that executed the criminal. Ironically enough, the criminal was actually executed on fabricated evidence, and they couldn't find the evidence to prove this case. Therefore, the case remained closed. And because of this, the public prosecutors demoted... Excuse me one second. Sorry about that. Pizza. Anyway, as I was saying, the public prosecutors was holding them responsible for what happened in the SL9 incident because one of the people that was murdered just so happened to be a prosecutor. That's where Keith Marshall came in, the guy who was the 4th guy in the video. In the photo, sorry. And as you can see, they were trying to make a connection to all of the murders that happened at the hands of Joe Dark, with, unfortunately, Keith Marshall being the last and final victim. And as I said, Edgeworth was presiding over that case, all the more reason why she hates him, and hates prosecutors in general. And the only reason she comes back to the prosecutor's office so that she could actually help, and she could actually get some help to get some closure to the SL9, even though the SL9 incident was already closed by Gant. There is a connection. And we're gonna have to find out. Oh, and for the record, like I said, you receiving all of Angel Starr's box lunches is basically going to be an achievement. And with that said, these two are actually partners. And she thought they were going out because of the fact that her old boyfriend stick. But in actuality, they weren't. They were the team on the case. And Lana at the time was also helping them too. And the only reason he grew so cold, something happened between Lana and Jake and Angel. Oh, I'm going to tell you right now, it's not a love triangle, I can assure you that. But it has something to do with SL9. So, we're going to be moving over to the police department, considering the fact that we need to actually get that lunch over to Jake Marshall so he can let us into the evidence room. However, that just means there's something Gumshoe actually can do, and that is to find out who it is that was the quote-unquote second murderer, because like Angel said, it's practically impossible. In other words, let's head over to the guard station. So, in the guard station, you end up finding the place is pretty much filled with cowboy decorum and a lot of whiskey bottles. Was this guy drinking on the job or something? That's a lot of cheap hooch. And a cactus. Yeah. To say this guy's not a cowboy otaku is pretty much a understatement. Whatever the case, we're gonna have to use the luminol, and that's actually an achievement. We have to use the luminol on the cactus. And yeah, I accidentally investigated, or should I say examined the cactus twice, because I was trying to figure out how to use the luminol, because using the luminol on the cactus will reveal blood on top of the cactus, which in turn would be an achievement. So on that note, I'll be right back. Hold on. Oh, damn it, I accidentally examined it. I was about to say I was be right back, but I'll get the clues eventually to actually press the spray button. Okay, excuse me 1 second. I will be back. Alright, we're back, and we're going to take the luminol and we're going to spray on the top of the cactus. That is basically going to be where the blood is located. So that's what you're going to do. We're going to examine the blood. And chances are, since Jake Marshall is here, that came from his hand. Well, stab wounds are just pretty painful. Especially from cactuses. Considering that they tend to stick their needles into your hands as a defense mechanism to keep you from drinking the water inside of them. Yeah, cactuses actually hold water, that's what I meant to say. Why was I thinking of cactuars? But whatever the case, we can't get into the evidence room just yet. We gotta get permission. And before we do that, we're gonna have to leave the police department first. And why do you ask? Well, you're about to find out. Oh, sorry about that. I had a little bit of indigestion there. The detectives are still running around like chickens with their heads cut off, including a one gumshoe, who just so happened to smell the steak lunch that you happen to have in your hand. Unfortunately, seeing as how Angel gave you the last one, well, he's gonna have to wait till she make more. Well, like I said, the only reason why Angel is even giving out lunches to people in the first place is so that she can get a favor in return. And sometimes she gives them for free. That's pretty much bribing an officer. If you ask me, I mean another red herring, if you will. No, wait, not red herring. Why did I say that? I meant to say red mark against her. But she's trying to do anything that she can in order for her to solve this case and pretty much find out the real truth behind SL9. And he's practically going around trying to get himself some lunch, but at the same time, he actually made an announcement that they found the culprit, which, by the way, Gant has already announced, but now it's actually true, and we're going to have to go to the detention center to actually meet the culprit of the second murder. Chances are we've got two people to save and get off of the hook. Why do we move back here? We didn't need to go back here just now. Let's go back, and let's go to Wright and Company Law Office. I mean, you can go to the Affairs Department if you want to, but nothing's going to happen there. So we're just going to move over to the detention center, and we're going to see our suspect in question. Now then, they did catch the person that stabbed Detective Goodman, but here's the problem. Lana confessed to stabbing Goodman. How can two people stab one man is beyond ridiculous. And speaking of confessions, our suspect is pretty much confessing too. Oh God, not this again. What? You? Well, Officer Meekins went from giving Edgeworth evidence that would have linked this murder to SL9 to being about to be incarcerated for a murder that he probably didn't even commit. What the hell? This demands an explanation. I'd say this poor patrolman is a fall guy. And needless to say, a rather obvious fall guy at that. Poor guy was just doing his job. So, on that note, we're going to have to get an explanation as to what in all tarnation is going on, starting with the day of the crime. And from what's understanding, he is just a measly patrolman who has a penchant of using this microphone every chance he gets. But he was actually going to the evidence room. And the reason he was going to the evidence room was because Gant called him there. For those of you who probably don't remember, Gant was the one who sent Meekins to give Edgeworth that evidence in the first place. Which means Gant may be behind this. There's literally no other explanation. That's probably one of the reasons why I don't like this case, because it's obvious Meekins is being set up. The poor guy was just doing what he was told, and then on top of that, he ended up, well, getting stabbed. And when he blacked out, trying to fight for his survival, he ended up here in the detention center as an end result. And he ended up wrapping up his own hand. And the worst part is, just like him, Lana has a bandaged hand. Something tells me that either they're accident prone or a simple knife just caused one too many problems in this case. But on that note, we need to find out how in the world he injured his hand. So let's go to the bandaged hand. You can ask him about that, and he will just tell you that he was forced to confess because nobody actually told him. But the thing is, well, nobody else could believe him, the fact that a detective actually pulled out a knife and tried to kill him. And he was literally fighting for his life. And Detective Goodman, ironically, was the person that tried to kill him. Which is absolutely insane. Hold on, let's find out who the victim is. I mean, it is plausible that it would be Bruce Goodman because of the fact that he bled out because of one stab wound. But here lies the problem. Meekins was pretty much attacked by Goodman. If you all recall, by this time, Goodman was already dead. Something just doesn't add up here, and Gant again is behind this. But the question is, why? eventually we'll find out, because after all, we still got a long ways to go for this case. See, Meekins don't even know the guy. He only works in a small department and guards the evidence room. He'd never seen any of the detectives. In fact, he probably never even gone near them. But at least he didn't confess. That's a good thing. I mean, even though he was trying to be forced to, he didn't confess. So on that note, we're gonna have to present some evidence. And I do believe we know exactly what evidence we need to present. And that is Goodman's badge. And Meekins is shocked. He's practically remembered somewhat what happened. But the reason that he was even in a tussle with Goodman, apparently, because of the fact that Goodman probably refused to show his ID card. And if that's the case, we need to look a little bit deeper into this. As a matter of fact, we're gonna have to zoom in on the other side. And oh God, my controller is doing it again. Excuse me 1 second. Stupid controller. Whatever the case, I had to investigate the actual name and the number on the ID. First off, you had no choice but to actually examine the ID because you're forced to do that. What the hell? Y-A-B-A-D-A-B. What exactly is he trying to say? But whatever the case, we can now talk about the criminal details because of the fact that we just got finished examining Goodman's ID. And now we get to know that Detective Goodman actually looks suspicious. And to be perfectly honest, Goodman didn't show him his ID card. That made him even more suspicious. And that right there would have probably be by the book, and he would probably be commended for it. But instead, he's being, well, thrown up the river, as it were. So, in other words, despite this literally being self-defense, he's about to go to jail for this. Yikes. Really, Meekins is just doing his job, and everyone's just taking a deuce on the poor guy. Well, metaphorically speaking, of course. And obviously the reason for the arrest is because he was lying in a pool of blood. So that's basically why they arrested him. But let's be honest, ladies and gentlemen, now we've got two people to declare innocent. We've got to find out who's the real guilty party. More importantly, we got to find out why it is that Gant sent Meekins in the evidence room in the first place. And no, it's not really a spoiler because that's what he did, and that's how he got the evidence that he needed to send to Edgeworth. And because of the fact that his ID, well, his ID wasn't used, but more importantly, people saw that Detective Goodman was indeed in the room. And there was also videotape. But that tape, unfortunately, is not necessarily available, because, let's see, he forgot to mention the tape, but then again, he really couldn't. We're gonna probably have to actually take the tape eventually. Or more importantly, we're gonna have to investigate that too. Oh wait, hold on. I think I forgot. We might need the tape in the Day 3 investigation. But instead of that, we'll worry about that later. But for right now, it's Gant with that cheerful expression on his face. And, my controller's doing it again. No false alarm, this is actually a dramatic pause. He tends to do this a lot. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Sometimes it's my controller. Other times he tends to do a literal dramatic pause before doing something else. I need to also warn you one other thing. Damon Gant has a penchant for killing emulators in the HD version. So, bear that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, when you're playing this case. All the more reason why you hate this case. Well, actually, why I hate this case. Because of the fact that, well, it happens to be near the end of the entirety of the game where Damon Gant can crash your game. And I'll point that out when that happens. But sometimes when he makes those dramatic pauses, it makes you think that the game has crashed or something. Or in my case, my controller ended up unplugging itself from the USB of the Xbox, which is really, really goddamn aggravating. I'm gonna have to get another wire controller eventually. But for now, we still have to deal with the fact that the turmoil that has happened because of the fact that he has been he blamed Meekins for the evidence room incident is pretty much insane. More importantly, he also blamed Edgeworth for his screw-ups and has constantly thrown in his face of the fact that he was almost, well, sold up the river for murder for something Manfred von Karma committed. But whatever the case, Gant is someone who, despite being a cheery and jovial person, is a scary individual no less. He practically was ordering the chief of detectives around, particularly the boss of Gumshoe. He's the boss of pretty much everybody. So now we're gonna have to present either the SL9 note or the SL9. Actually, Goodman's on. No. I think we're supposed to examine the desk. That's what it is. I almost jumped the gun there. You're supposed to examine, I do believe, the prosecutor. No, not the prosecutor. I mean, the guy that's over at that desk. Not this one that I examined. The one with the blue badger that happens to be next to it. You have to examine that desk. So let's actually do that, because I got the wrong desk. Oh, I examined that one. Let's see. Hold on a second. Let's get the guy. Let's get the right desk. Hold on. God, sorry about that. That was terrible. My bad. Alright, let's actually go to the desk that needs to be checked. Over, come on. Come on, you had it. You had it, you fool. No, not that one. Not that one. No. That one, yes. Thank you. By the way, it turns out all of Goodman's belongings was literally stripped from his desk. Oh my god, that's what they were doing. They were literally taking everything that had evidence of Goodman being in the office completely out of criminal affairs. That's fucked up, man. Sorry if y'all hate me cursing, but I have to say the opinion. This right here is starting to get more suspicious. And that's kind of cruel how you did that. But they did have something, and I do believe that was the, I do believe ID log that we just picked up, or I think it was a piece of evidence off of his desk, whatever the case. And Gant is doing this again, the dramatic pause. Oh, and as a matter of fact, Gant literally gave us permission to do what we need to do. In fact, he even loaned somebody $50. You'll find out who in the next part. But whatever the case, we now have permission and also a guest detective's ID in order for us to go into the evidence room. Yeah, the evidence room. We are going to have to go back there, and I do believe Jake Marshall will be there this time around as well. So on that note, Gant being an intimidating presence that he is, he just literally gave us the keys to try to break open this case. And we'll find out more in part 42. This is RVman985. See you guys next time, as we need to go into the evidence room to literally find out what happened, provided that Jake Marshall let us through. Well, with a little steak dinner, he will.